Yeah, this time. Don't let it happen again. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to the Drag and Drive Show presented by Summit Racing. My name is Michael Narks. I run dragonDrive.com and all of the historical data for drag and drive events. We're going to talk to some historical people tonight. We have Rich Guido on. We have the man Keith Turk on. This is going to be a good show. Eric, tell them who you are and let's get this thing started, man.
I'm Eric White. I run 815 LSX Swaps and Motorsports Paparazzi.
Yeah, buddy. Well, let's talk about the guests we have on tonight. We have Matt Lang, creator of Back to the Streets Drag and Drive. He's going to be on just right after this. We have Rich Guido. Obviously, I'm going through the historical stuff for him. He has competed in at least 15 drag and drive events, stick shift, 65 Pontiac GTO, crazy car. Love it. Dude drives everywhere, drives 10 or 15,000 miles a year. And then if you don't know, Keith Turk is we'll figure out what his exact title is. I'm going to call him the race master of all of the major drag and drive events. You know, obviously Hot Rod Drag Week, he has been a part of it since the beginning and then has now taken over the helm as with Sick Week and Sick Summer and all the Sick events. So this guy has a wealth of knowledge and the history behind a lot of the classes and how. So we're going to talk about the growth of the sport with him, because for a long time Drag Week was only one, and now we're seeing more events come into play and how that will change the sport and all that kind of stuff. So let's kick off. Actually, one last bit here. I did see that South Georgia Motorsports Park had sold to Raul and Jennifer Torres. I want to congratulate them on the purchase. It's always great when a racer buys a track. That's always good for the sport. So it's good to see that, you know, and you see that headline SGMP sold. I was like, I couldn't click the button fast enough. It was clickbait for sure on that. So congratulations to them. Ozzy and his wife are now going to focus solely on Orlando Speed World. So that'll be cool to see the growth that they have there. And what's pretty crazy is the Torres take over as this weekend. There's an NHRA event at SGMP. So pretty wild. Can you imagine taking over right as that happens? I mean, it would blow my mind and scare me to death.
There's only one way to jump in, I guess.
Yeah, both feet. So a little bit of backstory on Matt Lang. He is, I don't know, he's been to several events. He has driven and co-piloted and all that kind of stuff. So welcome to the show, sir. It's good to have you here. I'm excited for you to be on. I do want to start off by saying thank you for letting me be a part of Back to the Streets. This is going to, I think, change drag and drive in a great way. I think we're going to see some more racers come in, which is always a good thing. Anytime we can bring fast folks in, that's the way to do it. So some of my notes here, let me pull up, let me turn the thing off, and we'll share the flyer with the event. It is the end of September at Milan Dragway and Lapeer. Let's see if I can get my notes pulled back up here along with, yeah, perfect. All right. So tell everybody who you are and kind of where this idea came from.
So I'm Matt Lang, competitor in many drag and drive events, 5 or 6 at this point. Finished them all so far. Back to the Streets was formed for the no prep racers and drag and drive guys that want to show what they can do at the track and the street, make sure their car is reliable, and
yeah. And it's a no prep, 8th mile, heads up. This is where everything gets a little murky for folks. So we're going to talk about the format here in a minute, because there are some other events that are coming out that we'll actually talk about after this one that are an elimination style drag and drive, but you can't really do eliminations and people race to different track or race at different tracks. So you're going to kind of help us with some of the format of that. Again, it is Milan to Lapeer and then back to Milan. So Detroit area, which is always a good spot. It's one of the only events in the Midwest. Yep, so that'll be a plus. Yeah. And it's a weekend event. So let's talk about classes first, and then let's talk about the brackets, and I'll pull that up.
Okay. So classes are small tire, big tire, high roller, true street, and hard tire. Standard
and pretty
no
easy
rules. Yep.
Yep, I was gonna say pretty easy on the rules. One thing that I have seen some conversations around is the engine diaper or tray on the bottom, and some people, oh man, why is this rule here? Dude, if you're gonna run through 200 cars, which is the limit on this event, if you're gonna run through 200 cars and they're gonna be racing side by side, instant green lights, nobody can tear up their car and then we sit for 2 hours or 3 hours while they clean it up, or an hour, you know.
Yep. Engine
So
diapers are $200 or $300. We're just asking
yeah.
every racer to include it in their program.
Yeah, and there's a Facebook group that's dedicated to Back to the Streets you can join. And then you were maybe discussing a group buy type setup on that. So I think that's really smart.
Yep. I've contacted Doug Cook and we're working on it. So
Nice, nice. Well, that's always cool. So what would be the draw for like heads up style racers to want to come to this event?
So heads up racing is normally like single eliminations. With my format, you have something to shoot for, even if you have a bad race. I'm sure there's guys that have gone across the country and lost first round, went home with empty pockets and a bruised ego. So
Yeah.
we're going to keep those guys racing all weekend.
Well, right. And then drag and drive racers, anytime we can race for not just an ET, that's always fun for us because it's a completely different format. I think that's what will draw the drag and drive racer in. But don't worry, guys, I am still going to use your average. I'm going to use your ET or your time slips if you will allow me. This is a no time setup. So if you would like to use your slip and all that, bring it to me. I'll input it and we'll keep track of those for the dragandrive.com racer list presented by Summit for the PRI award show at the end of the year, also presented by Summit Racing.
Yeah, so this takes drag and drive to the next level. You got to prepare a fast and reliable car, but you also have to beat the guy next to you on a surface that's not always the best. So
yeah, and I think that's going to be the fun part too. And then why would a no prep racer want to do this one?
Although these racers are used to the heads up racing, it's going to take some mental and physical toughness to tune and fix their cars with no sleep, while maintaining that competitive edge.
Yeah, I think a lot of the street racers that we're going to have come to this event, I think their eyes are going to be open. There is a lot of, I'm not going to say trash talk, but there's a lot of needling that goes on between street racers and no prep guys to the drag and drive stuff because we're just racing for an ET. So I think this will bring out and show how hard a drag and drive is. It is by far the hardest drag racing I think you can do, just simply because you have to drive in your car for the whole time. So lay this out and then we'll talk registration and then we got to get rolling.
Okay, so day 1 and 2, you're going to make one pass against a randomly selected competitor from your class and group level. So, for example, if you win both of your days, day 1 and 2, you'll stay in the A group or A bracket for the biggest payout. If you win one day and lose one day, you will go to the B bracket, and obviously 2 losses will go to the C bracket. It's pretty simple.
And those guys are still able to win a little bit of money and a cool trophy and all that kind of stuff. So even if you can be the winningest loser and still get some fun stuff out of it. Yep. So that's kind of the plan there. And we have a whole bunch of stuff planned for this event. That part of the country is obviously a car mecca, being around Detroit and all that stuff. So that's always going to be fun. And then we're going to be driving on some of the same roads and seeing some of the same things that, Ford and Chevrolet and Dodge designers and all that had in mind for these events. So,
yeah, I'm really excited about the routes. Yep.
And you can find more information back to the streets, dnd.com. Eric, can you put that in the chat? Back to the streets, dnd.com for all the class rules and how. I think I've got the brackets and stuff on the website and how it breaks down and all that. And then when are we going to do registration?
I'm thinking middle of April, maybe the 15th.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. All right. We can't do the 15th because I'll be on the circuit running it. So we'll have to push it before or after, probably maybe that Monday
Sounds good.
or Wednesday, something like that. So perfect, dude. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Obviously, this isn't going to be the last time you're here. We're going to talk as we get racers interested in this and conversating about the event. And again, thank you for letting me be a part of it. I'm excited about this new style. I think it's going to be really fun.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Yeah, dude. All right, we'll see you later.
See ya.
Cool, man. I'm telling you, this right here could change some things. I think there's a lot of racers that will enjoy the side by side stuff. I think that's really going to change it up. So we'll see. I don't know.
And spectators. I think it'll be fun for spectators to watch too.
Yeah, especially when you have a no prep situation and it's heads up and it's instant green. There's a lot of time there where people will be literally putting it on the line. So I'm excited to see our drag and drive competitors go out and beat some of these street racers that talk a bunch of trash. We talk about the heads up in that. There is a new event that John Paul Franks is hosting in July. So to switch up gears a little bit here, and I didn't grab the flyer, but you can find more on it at headsuphustle.com. It is an elimination drag and drive, which is what I was talking about a little bit with Matt there. It's July 14th through 16th. It is also at Milan, Lapeer, and Milan. They are doing it a little different. They're doing Q1 at Milan. Then you'll drive to Lapeer and do your second qualifying. He will use the average of your two passes in your qualifying sessions to put the lineup or the brackets together for the ladder. And then they're doing all the eliminations on Sunday at Milan. So pretty neat deal there. I really like that style setup because then you come into Sunday with a shootout with, 300 miles on your car and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of people that are trying a few different things within the drag and drive community. And that's why I'm excited about having the guys on later like Rich and Keith, because we can talk through some of this, what's coming in the future for drag and drive and all that stuff.
We got a question here. Any info about the drag and drive in Centerville, Arkansas?
Nope, I don't have anything on it yet. All I know is July 15th is the date. It is a single day event. It has basically they'll drive 100, 120 miles that morning and then come back and race heads up. I don't know if they're going to, or sorry, I've been saying heads up a lot. They're going to come back and make passes. I don't know if they're going to use I don't know what the format is. I've talked with the promoter only once through Messenger, so I hope to have a little more info on it. But again, July 15th, you can find it on the draganddrive.com page, draganddrive.com/news, and then scroll down to the events. So with the Heads Up Hustle, we now have 25 drag and drive events in 2023.
That's wild.
Wrap your mind around that. The next event is in I would call my growing up home track. Delta Speed Week is going to be at George Ray's Wildcat Drag Strip, and it's going to be all Arkansas tracks. So the Tyler Russum is George Ray's grandson, and he has taken over the promotion of this event. 4 days of racing. It is August 31st through September 3rd. So again, we talked about it a little bit last week. September is really stacking up to maybe be the busiest month ever. Used to it was June. Now it's definitely September. So Rich is in the background. So we'll see if he's going to just take the entire month of September off and hit them all. So it's a pretty wild month there. And then last event stuff. And then we're going to jump into some drag and drive trailers we're going to blast through these. Event registration for the Central Illinois Streetcar Shootout Drag and Drive is live. I didn't bring the link into that, and I'm sorry, Kyle. Spots are very, very limited on this. They're doing it in a way that will use your average across that, but it is also a streetcar shootout during the event. So you are racing heads up. So they'll do qualifying, the drive, and then the racing, and you can select to not do the drive and just stay in the race. So that'll be an interesting turn too, because some of these guys that will have driven 120 miles, let's say, between Saturday and Sunday racing will be competing against guys that didn't drive their car on the street that far or didn't drive their car on the street at all. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. There's like 16 cars per class is all that's allowed. So jump over there. You can find it at CISCS on Facebook, Central Illinois streetcar shootout.
Yep.
Say that 5 times fast. All right,
And that
dude.
one's
Let's jump
not too
into.
far. That one's not too far from me, so that one I'm hoping that I'll be able to get to and check out.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that for all of us. So I want to run through a few pictures here. I actually had planned for a little longer, and then I went long with Matt. You know me, I talk and talk and talk. So let
So
me get this.
trailers, right?
Yeah, yeah. So drag and drive trailers has actually become a huge part of the drag and drive community. I think people they'll take a couple weeks or a couple events and they'll yard sell it, which is essentially packing everything in the car, unpacking every day. It's possibly the worst way you could do it. Plus, as we see these drag and drive trailers going through here, you can see just the creativity extends not from just your car, but into the trailer as well. Like this one here, you guys can see that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. This one here, super tiny. I mean, this is like I don't know, 4x4 trailer mainly. And then you've got this guy. I don't think this was his race truck, but that's his race car trailer. And we'll talk about, I think Rich's picture is in here just in a minute about his trailer. And we can talk about how it's grown over the years and things like that. Andrew has a really nice trailer. I like the diamond plate. The other side of that too is like, you see a lot of these are enclosed and then these are open. I mean, you really can't go wrong with your drag and drive trailer setup. And really it's motorcycles. Obviously you have to pull a trailer on a motorcycle. There are a few guys that don't. I can't imagine. What I would like to see eventually is a motorcycle that changes his rear tire. I think that'd be really cool. I think that would be the next level of motorcycle drag and drive. But currently there's only about 10 motorcyclists that race in drag and drives yearly. So I like this one here because of the golf cart on the back. That's what my setup is going to look like whenever I buy the drag and drive pursuit van. And then this kind of stuff here, simple, easy, $200 or $300 trailer here. And then this is probably a Facebook Marketplace purchase for another 100. So for $300, you've got a trailer that can keep stuff dry, but then also has room for your, all your stuff. And then I like this one because of the vintage look. There's a lot more of this type stuff popping up, where you're seeing kind of some cool trailers. This is Brett Marvel's trailer. He actually built this from bed frame rails. This is what's under here, and then just sheet metal plated it.
Nice.
So, I mean, yeah. And then this is a huge rooftop tent that just goes right on top. I mean, he pulls his entire setup. If these tents weren't like $1,500, it would make a lot of sense to have one. But man, those tents are expensive. So you can see here Bailey, and then all the trailers that are in the background. This looks like an old U-Haul trailer, maybe. And then Aaron Schaefer with his trailer. This is one of my favorite trailers in the drag and drive community, just because it's open and easy, but has a locking. This you can probably pick these up for free. The old toolboxes. I mean, seriously, or they're $20 at a yard sale somewhere because people don't want them, but they're perfect for drag and drive trailers. You can bolt it down, you can lock it up, all that kind of stuff. And he's got the bar that crosses here to keep all of his stuff, hopefully safe. I liked the tires mounted on top here. That was pretty cool. And then, I mean, dude, you can't say that that's not the coolest pictures ever.
That's
car
pretty sweet.
Cruising down the road with a trailer. I mean, I was on the phone today talking to the place where we're doing the cruise night here in Rogers for the circuit. And I was like, yeah, and a lot of these cars are going to be pulling trailers. And she's like, oh, so you don't need 300 parking spots. You need like 450 or something. I'm like, no. These trailers are tiny. They're like little bitty. She's like, I don't understand. So and then you got guys like these diesel trucks that could probably pull a trailer 3 times the size. We're going to talk to Keith in a little bit about kind of the trailer rules and how they, I don't know, got started and all that, because right now the only rule is a single axle, where used to there was a cubic foot that you could have here or a length and width that was set up by Rocky Mountain Race Week. I mean, there were all kinds of different rules and people would build their trailers in and around that. But now the only rule is a single axle. Clint Sadowski there. This was one of my favorite. These are more Canadians that were at Sick Week. Super great couple.
This here 9 Finger Wrenching says he loves hauling Ash's trailer. It's a coffin on wheels.
Yes, it really is. It's amazing. I don't think I have it in the pictures here. This is another vintage one, matching taillights to the car. I mean, that's pretty cool. It's all those little details like that that you walk past this trailer 2 or 3 times before you notice. And then my little brother is building out. This used to be a pop-up tent that literally came from like right over there in the back of the woods there, and had been there for at least 25 years. So he pulled out all the metal, and he's raising it up just a little bit to kind of, the bottom of the car and the bottom of the trailer will be even. And Darce Laws with it. This is not part of the trailer. This I don't some roof or something. So, anyways, trailers. There are a lot of different ways to do that. There are a lot of different ways to do your trailer, and we'll talk to Rich and see how he does his and what he likes and all that kind of stuff. So we're running long on time. We'll come back to trailers. Jason Schaefer with the Chicken Coop and I recorded a lot of stuff at Sick Week, about 10 or 15 minutes worth of trailer, recaps as we walk through the pits. So that video is coming. I'm working on that over the weekend. So, dude, you want to bring in Rich Guido, the man?
I
Mr.
think that's what everybody's been waiting for, isn't it?
What are you saying? Everybody's waiting on me. Hold on just a second. Let me get the notes pulled up for him because his stuff is pretty deep.
I think he's the star of the show.
I mean, him and Keith are definitely more popular than us. Let's let's thank a sponsor real quick, and then Rich, we're going to bring you on. So get ready.
Molly Motorsports is the official piston of DragNDrive.com. Molly's Power Pack piston is the perfect candidate for your drag and drive car. Molly Motorsports competes in drag and drive events and supports our community. Project manager Eric Grillo raced a 10-second stick shift Nova at Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. He's also competed in Rocky Mountain Race Week last year with his C10 truck. Visit mollymotorsports.com for the most recent line of products.
Awesome. Dude, Eric Destroyer 1320 does a great job. He has the voice for that. Mr. Rich Guido, how are you, sir?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
I see you're in your podcast setup there. We're going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute. Why don't you I'm going to do your drag and drive history here in just a minute, but why don't you kind of tell people who you are and then just a quick recap of the car?
So Rich Guido, I've been entertainingly named the Canadian Chuck Norris, and recently crowned the king of drag and drive by the man himself. So I thought that was pretty cool. But my car's a 1965 GTO, 4,100 pounds. Best pass has been like an 875 at 164 miles an hour after driving 3,000 miles. So that's that's kind of my claim to fame. Is I don't have a truck and trailer, so if I want to go to an event, I got to drive there. And I get to do Hot Rod Power Tour and whatever drag and drive, and then I get to do Hot Rod Power Tour again on the way home.
That's
Hopefully.
Right. You probably actually drive farther than Power Tour does.
Yeah.
Boo Guamso said he heard you bowl overhanded. One thing that's been great about you becoming so popular and the Canadian Chuck Norris stuff is the memes that come from it and the names.
It's hilarious. Yeah, once they start going, it's like, oh boy, this is going to go on for a while.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
A couple comments about what you were talking about earlier. I'd love to see. I know you probably weren't going to call him out, but I'm going to call him out. But Billy the Kid and his dad, like, it would be great to see.
Oh, listen, I'll call Bill Hoskinson out every day.
Yeah, and I think he wants to do it. And I think once he does it, he'll fall in love. And it wouldn't surprise me if he not only does no prep style, he'll probably want to try another one. So pretty excited about that. I mean, I'm just amazed at how crazy it's gone. So thanks to both of you guys for doing this, and all the advertising you do and all the sponsors. But it is so cool that the sport that I love so much and have been doing for so long is just there's so many opportunities to do it, and yet still you got to be a bracket racer to be able to actually get in them because they sell out so quick. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta chop the tree down on registration.
Yeah. Yeah. You really do.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. And I laid out some stuff with Keith talking about the growth of the events and kind of the quantity of events. The one thing that we are seeing still is these events are still selling out or getting really close to it. There's not a lot of events that are struggling to sell out their numbers, so there's definitely a demand for it right now. People, we've got to jump on it. And I like that there's different formats that are coming too.
Yeah.
And we're still getting new events coming. I mean, we
Oh,
just
yeah.
heard of a couple new ones. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you've never been yelled at, sweared at, or, plain just ignored by Keith Turk, you're not really a drag and drive guy.
There you go. There you go. Well, let me lead into, I'm going to pull up the pictures here that I have, and we're going to kind of go through some of this stuff, but I'm going to pull up my notes, and that's where we're going to start is your history of drag and drive. So you started, obviously, like most folks, in Hot Rod Drag Week 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 17, and 18.
Yep.
With your best average being 2017 at a 10.012. How heartbreaking was that to not end with a 9-second average?
Yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. I mean, if you ask Bill Armstrong, that was because I wasn't doing 1320. I was doing about 1380 because I was going down the track like this. And I definitely had some wheel alignment issues that it took me a while to figure out. And I was having to pull my chute at 1,000 feet just to straighten myself out. So,
man,
I'm getting shit by Ed saying that I spelled Canadian wrong. What?
Oh man. And then so after 20, so you did 2018 for Drag Week. You also did 2017, 2018, 2019, 2021. We skipped a year. We know why. And then 2022 for Rocky Mountain Race Week. Best average there is at 9.813. Then you've done Race Week 2021 and 2022. We know why you didn't do 2020 because you live in the Great White North and they wouldn't let you in to the States. 9.0 average is your best average for Race Week, and that was 22, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yep. And then
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No. Go ahead. If you're talking about Race Week, we'll do it.
I raced Finnegan there on the last day, and we went side by side 906s. That was pretty damn cool too. Yeah.
How
both
cool
of us ran brakes, but
his car's a 6-speed too, right?
No, the rubber duck. That was the rubber duck at that time, and it was that.
Gotcha.
Supercharged Firebird.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it 20 or 21 he broke blasphemy. That's right. Sick Week 22 and 2023, 2-time back-to-back stick shift class champion. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I want to ask you, leading up to Sick Week, we were looking at some really potential game-changing cars, and then you end up winning. How did that feel when, I know it's sad when those cars fall out, but you drove your car 3,000 miles, 3,500 miles to get there, and then you beat the guys that could have gone 7s. Fegley did go 7s one day for sure, or both days, I think, right? And then broke his trans. And then here you are, you're like, oh, I got to finish this. And you end up finishing and then drive the car home.
Yeah, it changed the event for me quite a bit. I honestly figured, all of those guys are stout. Jeremy Howell, he's been 720s. Taylor Hendricks, he's been 8.0s. And I've been beat by Chad before. So, and all of them have done drag and drive events. So none of them were new. So, I had a lot of faith in those guys that one way or another, they were, at least 2 of them were going to finish. And they all have more certification than me. So honestly, I was really disappointed for Jeremy. I think he blew his up on the dyno the day before the event started, and then Taylor, felt awful for him. He he hydrolocked. He made a pass and then hydrolocked his motor.
And it had just been finished. Like that 2-valve had just been finished. And Jeremy Howe, I don't know if you saw his stuff, but his car is back apart. He's going like 25.3 cage. So, he's ready to go fast.
Yeah. And then Chad, he had a goal in mind. Like his goal wasn't to win. It was to run sevens the whole week. And I think if his goal was to win, he could have backed it off and quite easily have won the event. So, but that's not Chad. Chad wanted to run sevens. He's beat me before. He doesn't have an orange helmet, but his goal was really,
he's got a trophy from race week. So
yeah. So and still, he went 757 at 193 or something miles an hour, which is just blows his record out of the water for that pass. So, but I'm in staging. I hear Chad broke, and he said on the loudspeaker he wasn't going to fix it, and so I was literally in the car turning the knobs down, thinking, now I gotta finish the week, but I still wanted to run 880s or better, and so it was.
And does your 875 put you faster than Bill? Is that right, or is he going 70?
He went 870, but he wasn't there, so I definitely need him.
Right.
Yep. We'll get there. It just wasn't the time. 3,000 miles from home, and it just wasn't the time to turn it up and try to check that box yet. We'll check that box. Just not sure
and the other side of that too is like if you're like in the Rocky Mountains and you've got Trevor Brandon there, you can do some maneuvering around, which we'll talk about in a minute with King of the Open Road. You could get the car home. Being in Florida, man, I'd hate to find out, one, what the airplane ticket would cost, or two, to rent a car to drive that far one way, and then just the hassle of trying to get the car back home. You've done Miles of Mayhem both in 21 and 22. I think you were you're the inaugural first person registered for Miles of Mayhem, so that's pretty cool. I think you're a pretty big part of that team and helping them get the rules stuff and all that together.
Yep.
And then King of the Open Road in Oklahoma City, November 2022 event. Dude, you break all your stuff, the entire drive line, and replace your trans. Y'all, this is serious. He replaces the transmission and rear diff in the pits on Sunday and then drives it home. Pretty impressive stuff, man.
That's a good time right there.
You've had some adventures. We're going to talk about those here in just a second. So you gave us a little bit about the car. How long have you had the car?
Well, my son's 25. So it's about 20 years now. And
Wow.
Just a quick story about that. I had a 69 Firebird convertible, palladium silver, black top. It was a great street car. It went like 11, 17 at 122, but it was a convertible. It didn't have a bar, so it was going way too fast. No, actually, sorry, that was the GTO before it was running like 1220s, but it was still way too fast. And I knew I wanted a stick, and I knew I wanted a hard top. And so I should have sent you some pictures, but I pulled this thing from an orchard in Creston, BC, and they had got it from a junkyard. Like, it was a heap.
Nice.
In fact, when we got it home, I tried to roll it off the trailer. There was no pinion on the diff, so that the thing wouldn't even come off the trailer. And my wife comes out and looks at this thing, and she's like, and it is bad. Like, the passenger doors kicked in, the passenger rear quarters kicked in, the front is smashed in, and
you're like, look at my new car.
Yeah,
she's like, oh my God.
But honey, it's
That's
red
funny.
it's black with a red interior, and it's a stick. And
yeah.
Anyways,
She's like,
so I've had it about 20 years. The original goal for the car, it was a tri-power 5-speed with a TKO, was to get to run 1150s and get 20 miles to the gallon. And
nice. And so now you run 870s and get 20 miles a gallon pulling the trailer.
it gets better gas mileage now than it did back then.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's cool. That's what's always fun about big cubic inch and big turbo stuff is like you turn that thing way down and just cruise, man.
Yeah, just
so yeah, this next picture I'm pulling up. I asked for some of your favorite stories, and these next 4 pictures are the pictures you sent me to tell those stories. So give us some detail around this one here.
Yeah, so that's Pat Miker's 67 Chevelle, and this is like 2017, and he had some bad tire shake at the track, and we're traveling late in the dark as usual, and I think it's like 11:30, just about midnight, and we're in Rudesville, Illinois, and Pat's having battery problems. And so we're at a convenience store. It wasn't even a gas station, I don't think. And right off the bat, there's a couple of intoxicated ladies there that are, I think one of them ended up sitting in Pat's car. And it was so we're laughing at that, trying to figure out what we're going to do. And all of a sudden, Blasco says, "Let's get in your car. We're going to go find a battery." And I'm like, it's 11:30 at night in Rudesville, Illinois. We're going to die, but let's go.
Yeah.
So we hop in the car and we're driving around, and all of a sudden we see some people driving, and Matt's like, "Follow them." And I'm like, "Okay." And so we follow them, and they park, and we park beside them. And right away, it's these 2 old biddies in a car, and she rolls down her window and she's like, "What do you want?" and then I'm trying to tell them that we're on this event, and, we're looking for a battery. And all she said was "no," and rolled her window up. And I'm like, yeah, that's about what I expected. And so we leave there, and every time I think we should turn left, Matt says turn right. And pretty soon we're driving by this house, and he says, "Pull over. I'm going to buy the battery out of that." I can't remember what kind of car it was. It was like yeah, geez, I can't remember what kind of car it was. But and I'm like, it's freaking 11:30 midnight or something, and
I fix to knock on somebody's door.
He's gonna go knock on somebody's door, and there's this it was a little Jeep SUV or something, and so just about as I'm stopping, he's getting out, and I'm like, "Hey, listen, if they're shooting starting, I'm leaving you behind, buddy. Like,
you better bob and weave."
And so he goes up, knocks on the door. And a guy comes to the door, and he says, "I'm just wondering if I could speak to the owner of that vehicle out there." And the guy's like, "He just went out the back door." And that's like, okay, like, did he have a gun, or is he? What is he? Yeah. And so, sure enough, this guy comes around, and I think I sent you a picture of Matt and this guy. And so we go over, and Matt goes to pop the hood. The guy's like, "Nope." He's like, "Yeah, this guy here." He's like, "Nope, I'll pop the hood." So he pops the hood. The battery's sitting there, and Matt's like, "Is there any chance we could buy we don't know if this thing's any good, but the battery kind of looks new." And so the guy's got his hands in his pockets, and he's kind of shuffling back and forth, and he's like, "Yeah." And Matt's like, "Well, how much do you want for it?" And he's thinking, and we've told him the story. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're desperate. Yeah. We need a battery. We're thinking 200, 300. Like, this guy's gonna, but we don't care. It's Pat's money. It's not ours. We just need to get him a battery. And the guy says, how's $20 sound? And so we're like, Matt couldn't get the money out fast enough. I'm running to my car and getting the tools. And so, we take the battery out of the car, and we're laughing our ass off as we go back. And I tell you, we get it back.
That is wild.
Yeah, we get it back to Pat's car. And Matt's looking at it. As he's looking at it, he's like, "This thing is like a year old," he says. "It's like brand new." We go and we put it in Pat's car, and it's fully charged, ready to go. Fires Pat's car right up. Pat had that battery in his car for like 2 years. And it was like, I don't even know how that all happened, but it was hilarious. We laughed our butts off at that one.
Those are the adventures you have on Dragon Drives for sure, especially with you. Now, what is this one here?
So this one's a bit of a shorter story, but it's interesting the amount of people there. So that's Elena she was working for Roadkill at the time. I think that's Blasco beside her. And then traveling with me was Scott Taylor from Street Machine. That's who took this picture. So funny, he was traveling with Dan and I, and we're not sure if he brought it over or what, but those two guys got so sick on that event. I remember Dan Nissen sleeping on my yard sale. And it's like, I don't know, 100 degrees out, and he's shivering, and it was bad. But anyways,
oh man,
Derek was having problems with push rods, and it ended up it's a small block Mopar in that Land Cruiser, and it had a push rod with a cup on the end of it, and it busted the cup off, and nobody else has got push rods for it. And Dylan Merkel, if you've ever met him, he's super hard worker and creative. And he's like, I wonder if we took a 5/16 socket, flip it upside down, put the square end over the push rod, and use the 12-point end as the cup. And that's exactly what we did. And
oh my gosh,
I think I got another picture of it somewhere, but epoxied it on there, or red Loctite. It was close enough. And and ran for 200 miles that way with that was the cup of the push rod. And so he was on roadkill, and it was a pretty funny story. We had a good laugh at that one too.
Yeah, that's ingenuity, I think, is what people are surprised about whenever they're coming up on, when they're first in the drag and drive stuff. Now, this next picture is you, I guess probably same trip. And then this is you working on your car. Tell us what happened with this one.
Yeah, so first of all, this is a really nice hotel, like really nice. I can't remember if it was like the Sawmill or the Saw Ridge or something. Paddle Wheel. It was the Paddle Wheel Inn. That's what it was. And it was lakeside. And this was I didn't get to see much of this hotel room, but it was really nice. So I thought I was having lifter issues. So solid roller motor. And so we ended up going for pizza coming back. And I'm like, well, I have spare lifters. I'm going to change them out. So we start ripping and tearing mine. We realize that my brand new lifters don't actually have some oil grooves in them, that little communication grooves. So we had to go to Walmart, buy a Dremel. Dylan Merkel took the Dremel and all my lifters up into the bathroom of this hotel room at like, I don't know, midnight. I don't know what the neighbors
gosh.
But so the story gets better there. I get this thing all apart. As you can see, I got my yard sale going on, and it's like midnight, and all of a sudden you hear this and the sprinklers all turn on. And I got all my stuff all over the place. So we got like coffee cans, and we're cans trying to cover up all the
hoods open. No heads on it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see all my push rods sticking out of my valve cover there. And then we finally get that sorted out. We'll keep wrenching for a little while, and it starts to rain. And Paul Castiglione, that was the first time I met him. He brought a tarp over and put it over top of the car. And I think it was like 4:00 in the morning by the time this shit show was done. But at some point, one of the hotel workers went by, and they just walked out, and they just looked at this, what we were doing to their fancy hotel parking lot. They just shook their head and kept walking. But
they're like, I'm not even going to go over there.
Yeah, no, it was Richard Ray was there, and that was a pretty awesome year. Lots of adventures.
Adventures are the key word for Drag and Drive.
Nice. So we talked a little bit about it, but what's the setup in the car? Engine, trans, any power adder?
Yeah, so it's a 521 cubic inch Pontiac, solid roller motor. It's multi-port fuel injection with the ECU is a MS3 Pro. Evo. Oh yeah, that was good memories there too. That was in some, I can't remember, Montana maybe, I don't know, Kentucky. I can't remember where that one was, but and it's got a 94 millimeter turbo on it. So the engine that's in the car was the engine that I ran my first drag and drive with. It was naturally aspirated, carbureted, and had a 5-speed behind it. And so now 15 pounds of boost pretty much doubles the horsepower. And so it makes like 1,485 to the tire at about 16 and a half pounds of boost. The clutch is Black Magic clutch. It's an adjustable clutch. So every day, if it looks like I'm sleeping under the car, I'm usually, I got adjusted for the street and again, when I get back to the track. But it only takes about 5 minutes. Once the car is jacked up, I can do it pretty quick. And then the key to driving all the miles, without a doubt, is the G-Force transmission, the 6-speed. 80 miles an hour with my winter tires is 1,650 RPM.
Dude,
Wow.
that's so wild.
And it's actually happier at 85 miles an hour because it's a little bit more RPM, but it'll cruise at like 1,500. But
I mean, because probably at 1,500, it's making 400 or 500 foot-pounds, I would think.
Yeah, it you know, towing a trailer puts a little bit of load on it, keeps it from bucking, all that stuff, and yeah, it's really what keeps the whole thing alive because it's it's an aggressive solid roller. So yeah, I would say I don't, if I didn't have an overdrive, I have the drive shaft speed on there, and it reminds me quite often of, to do those speeds that I'd be doing, it'd be like 3,400 RPM or something. Like, yeah, that ain't gonna live. No way, shape, or form is that setup gonna live if I was doing that kind of speed. But man, when you're doing 1,600 RPM or 1,700, you can hear everything. The gas mileage isn't that bad. It runs super cool because it's 80 mile an hour air going through the rad, but it's hardly generating any heat.
Yeah.
Well, and that's easy on it. Eric, we're gonna have to move quicker. And we'll have Rich back on later. For sure. Sorry. All right. We're trying to keep time here.
All right.
Your next question, Eric, is really good here. I think this will be a good answer too.
All right. So what's it like traveling as far as you do for these events? Like, do you enjoy all that driving, or is it like physically and mentally draining, or both?
Actually, I enjoy it. The car is really comfortable. The noise I just talked about, I just put some different seats in. I had some seats that were pretty bolstered. They were Procore 1000s, and they weren't as comfortable as the ones that I put in. Ted, my buddy, he had some of those, and I put them in. They still look very, period correct. They're Procore 1300s, and I tell you, I drove 1,400 miles on the way home on the Sunday/Monday, and honestly, my ass wasn't sore, and it. So yeah, I absolutely enjoy the drive too. You can play tunes. Yeah, Dad gets a good sleep.
What do you know about what you spend on average in gas for an event? It's got to be like outrageous, isn't it?
So I think this trip to Florida was about $4,000 in gas. Actually, there's probably food in there too, but it was up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's 4,000 spent at gas stations because all you're eating is gas station food for.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense. Well, we know you did 2023 Sick Week. What other events do you have planned for 2023?
So I have I work at a petrochemical plant, so we have a big turnaround. So this year, May and June are out for me. And honestly, though, I get to do all these trips. I got no qualms about missing a couple of months. So it's Miles of Mayhem, and then I'm going to do Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, which is back in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah. And
then I think I'm going to do Death Week if it goes.
Nice.
I think that's what the current plan is.
That's cool. And then tell everybody what it takes to be competitive in stick shift class. This is probably a longer answer than what we can do in this episode, but What's it take?
I can keep it short. I actually think that, and for me, this last event was proof. It's really clutch management and consistency. If you can run, like my range was 875 to 891. The only reason I went 891 is because I let off too damn early at Orlando. So I think being able to, clutch management and be able to get the car to hook up, like I kept mine dialed back, but Chris Hine, I don't know if you saw the pictures of the 33 of his input shaft, but he's 1,000 pounds lighter than me, and he shattered his input shaft. And it was really about clutch management. So you got to get that figured out, because it's the only way you keep a car like my, where the drivetrain all stays alive, because you're not beating on it and shocking it so hard. You have to be able to get the car off the line without beating the heck out of everything. That's a beautiful picture, hey?
Dude, I love it. This is my favorite right here.
Yeah. That's the sea orchard. The sea urchins in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
that was $50 to clean that thing in that car wash that day, because there was so much frozen ice underneath that car, and I'm washing underneath the car too, trying to get all the salt and crap off it. And it's well worth it. Worth everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know Adam Dory, he's in here watching. He wanted me to have you tell the time that Stevie got a ride in the GTO.
Yeah, so Adam's girlfriend Stevie, I think she really wanted the ride in my car.
That's his girlfriend?
That's his girlfriend, fiance. I don't think they're married yet, but so I like to goof around, so I'm like, we should have some fun. But before she got in the car, he just kind of tapped his leg, like, just so you know, I'm prepared. And I'm like, Canadian and naive, but not for very long. And I'm like, all right, I'm not sure I want to joke around with him. And I know Adam's history. So I'm like, all right, we'll have fun, but we won't probably, goof around and pretend much, because but yeah, Stevie rode in the GTO. I'm pretty sure she had a good ride in the car.
I can imagine, and then she drives his stick shift stuff and competes at Rocky Mountain and Race Week. So, that only adds fuel to the fire for them wanting to build faster stuff.
Oh yeah, the best of people. Yeah, that was just me showing off all my Crower valve train. Oh, look at that time slip.
Yeah, man. Here we go, right here. Boom, 875 right here on the right. If you haven't seen it yet, I actually have a full video on the channel of that with Blaine's kind of lead up to it, your burnout, your pass, and then Blaine's reaction. And I think I even got your dad in there too. So really good video. Awesome. I'm really glad I was there. It was happenstance that I was there at the right time. And after you made the pass, I was like, I think that is his fastest pass. Yeah. Yep. So it's pretty cool. That was at SICK Week 2023. Everybody see, it was even on Valentine's Day. It's a good Valentine's Day gift to yourself. Well, let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about your podcasting, because you do that. We love obviously talking to folks and things like that. So what got you and Bill into podcasting?
Yeah. So, Bill and I became good friends in 2013. And then, we pretty much chat on the phone all the time, and lots of times we're talking about clutches and things to make our cars better. And over the years, we just thought it would be cool to put on a podcast ourselves. We were on Power and Speed back when they were on, and we laughed our asses off, and we had a great time. And we thought it was something specific for the stick car guys, but eventually we'll roll it into anything. But, it gives us the opportunity to talk to Tom Stark and his family. And so we do it as much for us as everybody else. And if people can learn from it, and we can grow the community, just like you guys are growing the whole Drag and Drive community, that's what it's all about. We are all learning together. And when my buddies get faster, I have to get faster. So there's that advantage too. That's an extra
right. Perk. Well, how many shows have you guys done? You're like in the 20s, right?
No, I think we're 15 or 16. I think we're right around
Gotcha.
there.
Gotcha. That's cool. It really is a lot of fun to watch. You guys do a great job, and your knowledge helps push that along. And the people you have on, I mean, it's obviously really, really been good about that.
Yeah, having Jonathan Atkins and Garrett Mitchell, and we've been really fortunate. Ben Strader, that one still gets lots of comments. People like, I'm watched that thing 3 times to try to get that information again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been awesome.
So obviously we enjoy doing the podcasting. For you, what's the most fun about doing these podcasts?
I think one thing, as a drag and driver and who's done it for so long, you go to these events and you're all excited to see your friends, but the reality is so often you're so busy to have a private, like, sit down conversation with them just doesn't happen. So in this forum, it really gives Bill and I the opportunity to ask whatever we want. And, how often do you get to spend an hour with a Jonathan Atkins or a Garrett Mitchell where there isn't people who want their time too? So it's very personal.
Or they're getting their car ready,
Yeah. Like the one with Frank and John, like, it was fantastic being able to spend that time with those guys. Like, we had just a great time. And so for me, that's what I like the best is it's that personal one-on-one time. And in my opinion, we get to expose some people too. Like Nick Coleman was one where I've seen 1320 videos of him, and usually he's in the zone, he's like busy.
Yeah.
And it seemed, but then, man, when you sit him down and you talk to him, it's like, that dude is brilliant. And we should have known that anyways with what he's accomplished. But so yeah, that personal one-on-one, that opportunity to spend some time with them without external factors, that's what I enjoy the most.
Yeah. And then do you guys have a normal schedule that you release the event or the podcast on? And then where can people find that?
Yeah, so it's pretty much on every podcast format. Typically what we'll do is we'll record it on Sunday nights, but it really depends on the guest too. And then Travis Foster, he's the one that makes us look good. He throws in the videos and the pictures. So we don't do it live because, Bill and I, so we need all the help we can get. And Travis takes care of it. It was great to have him actually interview me because he's a super smart dude and great at interviewing as well. So, and then if you want to actually watch it where you see the pictures and the videos, YouTube's the best place for that.
Yep. And then he goes in and edits and kind of lays over what we've done tonight, is showing some pictures and things like that, along with what you guys are talking about on the topic. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I typically will, I think I have seen almost every one of them at least once. I'm an auto guy to the core because I'm just like, that's easier. But the level of stuff you guys talk about is really fascinating to me, and what it takes to have a car live at the speeds, like Atkins talking about taking the grub worm into low 6s. I mean, like that or mid 6s, that car's crazy fast, and how you make the clutches work,
Yeah. No, don't worry. It's my eyes go hazy when you talk converters too. So
that's the way it goes. Well, who is your next guest up on the podcast?
We're actually trying to get Tony and Tess from Tony's part of the AV boys. He's famous for wheeling through the intersection where he was racing a Porsche, and Miss Midnight Maverick is, I don't know if they're married or wife, girlfriend. We're going to have both of them on because they're both
nice
stick shift. But, I think we're going to transition. We'll have lots of different people, and it won't just be stick shift people. So, but yeah, we're hoping to have them on next.
That's cool, man. Well, Rich, I want to say thank you for hanging out tonight and spending some time with us. I hope that everybody goes over and just binges the podcast because it really is good. It's a ton of fun. And you've been on a lot of other podcasts. You've been on here a couple of times. I think this is the second or third time we've talked, and this one's a little shorter than we did last time.
Yeah, that's okay. I totally get it. I really appreciate your guys' time. I appreciate the invite. Yeah. And I appreciate all the sponsors that support you guys and support all of us. We couldn't do it without them. So thanks to all of them too.
That's for sure. Well, dude, thanks a bunch. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. We'll message and all that fun stuff. I'm always asking you goofy ass questions. So,
Okay, try not to get Keith to not swear at you, or, curse at you.
hey, listen, I've had those. I've had that Keith Turk face given to me before, so
Yeah.
they won't be the last time. I promise. All right, thanks.
All right.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rich.
See
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
What a cool dude. He is. He's one of my favorite people. I mean, just bar none. Even if we didn't race, he would still be one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Let's jump in. Let's thank one of our sponsors, Sweet Patina. We're excited to have them on as our Built for Drag and Drive sponsor for 2023. This really is a blessing because it has pushed my ability to feature more racers and their cars, and I love it. Sweet Patina has detailed products, apparel, garage art, everything that you need for your garage and your car, shiny or patina paint, doesn't matter. My favorite item they offer is the Sweet Patina TKO hand cleaning wipes. These are amazing. I don't have any running water in the shop, so before I go in and grab the door handle of my house and the towel that's next to it, I do these out in the shop and then go in so I don't get everything all dirty and nasty. You can use code DND57 at checkout on sweetpatina.com. All right, dude.
So one thing I don't know if we ever mentioned, the name of the podcast is Clutch Burners Podcast. We talked about it. I don't know if we stated the name.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely Clutch Burners Podcast on Stick Shift Nation YouTube channel. It's a great setup. Any comments that I've missed? I haven't looked at a single comment. Do you have some starred in here?
We've got a bunch, but they go way back. So
okay.
I think we just keep moving on.
Yep. Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much for being in the chat tonight. Eric, thanks for watching out for all that stuff and keeping all that going. Let's bring in Mr. Keith Turk here. Now, I don't have a big fancy intro because if you don't know, he doesn't need an introduction. He is the man when it comes to anything drag and drive, and the godfather or grandfather of Drag Week. What do we call Hot Rod Drags? I think maybe Hot Rod Drag Week is the grandfather of them all, and you're the godfather of them all. How about that? Maybe. Well,
I would say it's not true.
Well, I do want to say thanks for coming on and spending some time tonight. You and I have had some conversations the last few weeks, but then we've also talked at Drag Week 2022. I got to follow you around with the camera for a little bit. That was kind of fun to see your, I don't know, man, your registration tech day stuff is a lot. I bet he walks 25,000 steps during registration and tech day.
Yeah, so tough day.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So for folks that don't know, Keith has been around Drag Week since the beginning, but you go a lot further than that. And I actually want to talk about you and Tanya first, because I feel like you guys are, I'm just going to say, the ultimate drag and drive power couple. Like, you guys have been together a long time. You've done a ton of cool stuff together. And I just want to, say I really like her. I really like you. She's my favorite, though. How she gets all that. So how long have you guys been together, and how did y'all meet?
All right, so that's actually kind of a cool story because Freiberger actually kind of got us introduced, but in an odd kind of way. David and I had done an article when I first met David. We did an article. He was the editor of Rod and Custom, and I was the owner of the East Coast Timing Association for many, many years. And Tanya's sister had been racing with us. I set up a deal where David came out and drove their car, and he wrote this article about it. And Tanya read the article and showed up at Maxton to see what her sister was doing. And I'm like what her sister's doing. I'd asked her mother in the past. I felt like, do you have any other daughters like that one? Like Regan, who's a fabulous lady as well. So anyway, met Tanya and we ended up getting married. We've been married, next week will be 19 years.
That's awesome.
The cool part about it is that David and I really became friends at that when he was writing that article. I've been dealing with a bunch of poo-poo people from Hot Rod in the past, and then David showed up, and the first thing we were getting gas in my truck, and I walked in, he was grabbing biscuits off the counter, and he's like, "Hey, counter food," and I'm like, "Dude, I don't know where you came from," but I was ready for the white tablecloth sort of thing, and I grabbed me a couple of biscuits and dude, let's go, and we just kind of got into it. So and I like at that moment I knew we'd be great friends, and we have become really, really good friends. So later on, obviously, I offered him the Camaro to race at Bonneville because I was racing Connie and I were racing another car, and he took us up on that, and we kind of figured out how to get him in the 2 Club at Bonneville. And one of those events, in those early events, he was running this thing called Punk Gas Drag, and he asked if Tanya and I would come give him a hand, and we said, we're really not drag racers, we're land speed racers. He said, "You're racers, and you're really great people, and you'll be fun." So okay, so we jumped in and volunteered to help with that, and went up there and worked a couple of days in Memphis, and had a blast, and just fell in love with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Then the first time I heard about Drag Week was at Bonneville. We were kind of spitballing all these crazy ideas about different events. And David had said, "Well, this one I've been thinking about is called like a week of drag racing, kind of like a 2-lane blacktop deal." And we're kind of like, "Oh, that'd be cool." And so he said, "Well, you guys want to help with that?" So that was the very first one. It was 40 cars, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, so that's how we got involved with it in the beginning. And along the way, I was the one asking David all the questions about, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? What about this? What about that? And he established kind of a pattern that we were going to behave and how we were going to react to the whole policing deal, because policing the event's hard. Policing any event's hard. And we're not a police force, and I don't want everyone to be thought of as the police. So we just kind of watch the event happen and deal with it as it goes. And let competitors race. So yeah, that's what I really loved about Drag Week and the concept. It wasn't my favorite idea that night, by the way. My favorite idea that night was an event called the Pill It Till You Kill It Nationals, where like you bring a $400 car and we start giving you nitrous jets.
Yes.
I love that idea.
Now I like you.
I'm telling you, it was a brilliant idea, but a little hard on tracks and all that, because you're going to end up blowing everybody up. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, he talked about Drag Week, and what I loved about Drag Week, probably most of all, is that we got to pick the atmosphere and the tempo. So we did this thing a lot like Bonneville, where nobody loses side-by-side racing. Everybody's a winner day to day. On the end of the week, somebody's going to win a class, or somebody's going to win, their particular category. But ultimately, while you're racing and while you're doing the event, nobody's really losing. And I love that. It's a lot like Bonneville. You may go to Bonneville and set a record or not set a record, but ultimately you're racing at Bonneville. You're doing that. And you're part of that the whole gig.
And
so anyway, that's how
you're having fun. Yeah, I was saying you're having fun and cars are out there.
Yeah, I want to say Drag Week is fun. I can't tell you how many people that I truly love at the event. I mean, genuinely from my heart and soul, that I love to death. Rick and Jackie Steineke, Dan Leeper, Rich Guido's dad.
Yeah.
I love Rich too. He's a great guy, but I love his dad. They're just, how can you not love those guys? They're just great people. So, anyway.
There's a lot of really good people that are in Drag and Drive for sure, and he's one of them.
I agree. Yeah, they really are, and they've all treated me with respect, and I genuinely enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, what are some of the things that you and Tanya have done as a couple? I know that you hold a couple records. I think she has driven on she's land speed raced, right?
Yeah, Tanya and I one of my gigs early on was chasing 200-mile-an-hour clubs, and I wanted to be in more 200-mile-an-hour clubs than anybody in the world. And I did that through 6 200-mile-an-hour clubs. I think we already done 790 miles at a time that they had. In any case, Tanya, while we're doing all this, I'm proud of her. She wants to learn how to race. She wanted to increase the lap. She was a vice president of Walker Bank, and she literally just wanted to have a little more in the lap. And she started coming back in, volunteering. She thought about thanking her for the race and never a little bar. So the CISCS, I had to say, well, I'm very sure to do that. And she was heartbroken. I was like, okay, then one got a very car, and I got this piece of crap there. I'm going to ride that. So we put the driver's seat, put an eraser and blocks of the pedals to be rid of them.
Hang tight. I think your mic is maybe fighting us a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Hang on just a second. I'm gonna mute you and then turn it back on. We'll see if that does it.
Okay.
No, it's like it's picking up some interference or something.
Trying to move it closer.
It was good for a second, then it just kind of went crazy there.
Crazy. Long to get. Turn this off. Okay. We go out back.
Yeah, it's like
it are still connected.
Yeah, I think the headphones are still connected. How about that?
Yeah, I keep looking them off.
Yeah, you may have to turn those off. Sorry. We'll let him do that. See if that may bring us back. We do have some good photos that Keith sent us here. I'll bring up when he comes back on so he can tell some of the stories. He had the Hot Rod Magazine Camaro in here that him and Freiberger have driven. How's that? Well, we'll have. That is better. Is that better for you, Eric?
Okay. I think so.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry about that. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the Camaro because you were talking about it just a second ago.
Okay.
And we'll discuss it a little bit here. Sorry, it's opening out. What happened was it started. The audio started as I opened that up, so I was like, okay, well maybe it's on my end, but apparently it was not. So this car here is a car you and Freiberger have you guys put together, or maybe you put together and he wheels it some. What's the story on that?
The story is that originally I was going to give him the car and I was going to race my long car, my Streamliner. And it turned out, I realized pretty quickly that the best way for us to do this was for me to handle the car and for David to handle the engine. So basically we divide the car from the clutch back as mine, clutch forward as his. I don't mess with the tune-up or any of that stuff. He dynos an engine and ships it to me. I put the engine in the car. We get together, dyno the car, usually dyno the car, and then I go racing. So, and he manages the engine 100%. It's 100% his built engine. I don't mess with it at all.
That's cool.
The one that you're looking at right there is a 347-inch small block. Makes around 1,007 horsepower at the rear wheels. That's
pretty interesting. And you were telling me earlier about tire size. How wide is the tire on these cars?
A Bonneville setup is totally different in drag racing. It's a 4.5-inch wide Goodyear front runner that's specially designed for Bonneville. And what you want to do is have a lot of weight incident upon the tire. So the car has about 1,400 pounds of lead in it. And so we have a lot of weight on the tires. And at speed, that weight equates to traction. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Very small point of the tire on the ground with a lot of weight on it, and they don't spin as much. I mean, spinning is part of the problems of Bonneville and El Mirage. So that's part of the gig.
Yeah,
all the little blue
it's
stickers
cool
on the right. all those little stickers you see there are events that we ran at Bonneville.
That's awesome.
That's
I saw
great.
Andrew Nelson in here a little bit ago. He's a land speed guy. I'm sure you guys have crossed paths a few times.
He used to race with us a lot in the early days, and Andrew's one of my favorite people. I really, when he crashed last month, I was devastated. You don't know how hard that is on me because this is a guy that I truly love.
Yep,
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are a couple of your priority project cars and motorcycles?
Oh, I got shit everywhere here. Pop a couple more pictures of the Camaro real quick. Those are go through the hats. We'll do that real quick. That's my baby.
Yeah, sorry. These I think these are the only 3 pictures I have in here actually of the Camaro.
Okay, go ahead. Go with the next one. That's
Yep,
actually
and then-
Camaro. Those are the 200-mile-an-hour clubs it's in. To include Lake Gardner, we checked off Lake Gardner because David and I went there and raced somebody else's Camaro. But we shipped that piece of crap to Lake Gardner, Australia, 300 miles into the outback. It was amazing. And got rained out.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then I went and tried to race a motorcycle there 2 years after that and got rained out. So I got rained out twice before I finally got to get Jack's car and drove it to like 237, got in the 2 club. But
And
yeah,
then
just some of
so this looks like the Camaro window here too. Are these people that have driven this car? What's this stuff here?
Some of the guys are like, Brad Johnson's one of my best friends. Will Hansel was a rider for Hot Rod. Tanya and I both won a championship in this car. She was driving for the second one. Steve Atwell, the Hemi guy, drove it in Bonneville. David, of course.
That's cool.
And David's been doing most of the driving lately, and it's just he's really the best driver of the 3 of us. So
yeah,
we just put him in the seat. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the Hansel here, dude, at Maxton 200.000.
Dude, that guy went 199.115, which was the exact time he had run at El Mirage a month before. Could not get in the El Mirage 2 club, and I had to go tell him that he ran 199.115. We popped the hood of the motor of the car, and the whole underside of the hood was covered in oil from blow-by. And Will's like, what are we going to do? And I said, well, we can turn it around. Let's go do it again. And I'm like, I'm going to add another 50 or 75 horsepower nitrous to it. It was a little 300-inch motor. And he went 200.000. I swear to you, it was the craziest thing ever. Will Hansel's still proud of that today. So really, really cool deal.
Yeah, he earned that 200-mile-an-hour
Oh my
club.
God, and that motor was junk. I literally threw the block away when we got done. That we had actually barreled the cylinders. It was so bad. I'd heat soaked that thing so many times. Anyway, that's old DC
awesome.
tubes back in the day. Then I ran a Rodeck aluminum block for years, but whatever. Anyway, there's that. Let's move on. Other junk. Steve Atwell's a great guy, by the way. You don't know him. He was on the first drag week. 2 clubs. Those are the hats. So basically, my first hat I got up there in the top left corner is the ECTA, and I've set a bazillion records with the ECTA. In Bonneville, the blue hat on the right actually was my second. That's Muroc, and I did that by myself. Me and my brother-in-law, Sal Solorzano from TCI. Sal and I went and raced at Muroc, and I got in the 2 club, went 205. Bonneville, of course, was like my dream. All my life, I wanted to race at Bonneville. So Texas was the first car to go 200. Tanya's first girl to go 200. El Mirage. El Mirage is, I don't know if you guys realize, El Mirage is like 1.3-mile dirt track in LA that's just a shithole. I mean, I'll never race her again until next time. Well, I'm just saying, it's horrible. I say, the moose thing is like Maine, and then that blue one on the left or the red one on the bottom left is Lake Gardner, Australia, and the one on the right's the Hall of Fame thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's neat stuff. Anyway, that's my hat collection. Next, what's next?
Yeah,
Okay,
all of this is fun.
This is my refrigerator. All right, so you walk up to your fridge and get a beer. It's like, okay, whatever. I walk up to my fridge, get a beer, and it's like, in my lifetime, I have dreamed of that. To have a red tag from Bonneville. All of those red tags indicate a record over 200 miles an hour, up to like 255 or something. I don't remember. Top speed on the car is 260.
Oh,
The 200 mile an hour club stickers on the top are for different people I put in the 2 club over the years. And I don't sell rides. I mean, those are people that have earned the right to drive the car at Bonneville. Steve Atwell, he was instrumental in us going to Australia and saying, hey, let's go. Anyway, so yeah, you'll notice the top row though, it's got a lot of the dark blue tags. And those are not records. Those are just me learning. That was all my learning experience up on that top row. I sucked out loud. But
Well, and so, obviously, Clark Rosensengle's a land speed guy, Andrew Nelson, all those guys. But I don't know anything about this stuff. So this is pretty interesting to me because this is sustained almost or fully wide open throttle for how long are you driving to get to that kind of speed?
Let's just do nitrous. Let's just do nitrous because it's fun. So let's say you're going to drive 5 miles to Bonneville. You take your little 300-inch engine and you turn on the nitrous before the 1 mile marker. Usually going into second gear or third gear, one or the other. It depends on, on the 4-speed, probably second gear. So that's before the 1. Let's just assume that you ran 240 miles an hour, which that motor didn't, but 235. But at 240, if you break that in half, it's 120, and half again is 60. So we know that 60 miles an hour is 1 mile a minute, right? So I got to go 4 miles and figure I'm doing 240. It's going to take me at least 60 seconds to go those 4 miles. So I figure nitrous was on around 70 seconds on a 300-inch motor.
Wild.
Yeah,
That is wild.
I have a lot of pistons on top of that fridge that represent my skill at going 70 seconds on nitrous.
Man, how much nitrous? I mean, are you do you call Harry and get the 2 big bottles?
I tell you what I do is we ran two 20-pound bottles side by side with a nitrogen push system. The problem with nitrous, you don't want your nitrous tune-up to change from the start to the finish. I mean, so we would only run 7 or 8 pounds of nitrous in a pass on a 300-inch motor.
That's crazy.
It is. It's fun stuff. Yeah, but that's Bonneville. It's real hardcore racing. But like drag and drive stuff, the thing is you don't have to do it every day. You don't have to go racing every weekend. You don't have to go to the circle track every Saturday night and go racing. You can pick the event that you want to go to and focus on that. It becomes your goal. And it's goal-oriented achievement. Bonneville was for us a once-a-year race. The East Coast Timing Association that we owned, that Tanya and I owned, was a 5 times a year, 4 times a year that we would race. Wow. And again, you're not buried in racing. You still could have a family life, and that had value. So anyway, that's why we dug it.
Yeah.
Kind of leads into a good question here. This Facebook user says, what land speed race events are you planning on racing at this year?
I'm going to go back to that shithole El Mirage. God, I hate that place. Did I mention I hated that place? It's horrible.
I think maybe once.
It's filthy. It's nasty. It's grubby. The problem with El Mirage is that you can't set a record from your couch.
Yeah.
With a theoretical race car and a theoretical racetrack, I could theoretically set a record and kill it from my couch. But the reality is you got to get off your couch and go to that shithole and drive in that place that's so incredibly historic. I mean, it is too. It's when you race there, it's like racing at Bonneville. You're racing in a place where everybody that's a racer's there. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, Rich Guido talking about cruising the pits. Cruising the pits at Bonneville, you'll never see 2 things the same. Everything's different. Everything's different. Drag and drive, it can be like that, though. If you look around, I know Matt or Mike wanted to ask me about which class I like best at Drag Week, and I got to be honest with you. If I lean to any one class that said this class is just disco bitch, and the street race class is just insane.
Yeah,
you may get one. Hey, don't turn the A49 in.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm telling you, like that, I've preached it since we started doing this. That is my favorite class because of the consistency it takes, the tunability it takes. The car has to be right. Everything has to fall into place, and you got to know what you're doing because you're trying to run like Schaefer this year at, yeah, at Sick Week 85000. I mean, that's what you're going to have to do to win it.
Well, and that's the gig, you know. Like I said, but I like them all. I really like Street Machine
Yeah.
Eliminators too. I like the variety of people that are running the lower speeds. You may not know this or believe this. I'm really a bucks down guy. I love cheap stuff. I love stuff that costs no money. The kid sleeping in the back, Ryan sleeping in the back of his little Ranger pickup truck at Drag Week last year.
Yep.
That tickled me to no end. And I have to be honest, I was one of the people that really pushed for him to get the Spirit Award because I just loved his story. I loved that it wasn't about money; it was about his passion to be there. The Dave Teresi brings his daughter. Anna Lee was amazingly special at the first Sick Week. So yeah, I mean those are the people that I love. I mean it's not about the big money, high dollar, super fast cars to me all the time. I love Tom Bailey. I love the effort that Tom gives. I love Dave Schroeder and the effort he gives. Him and his cousin just do amazing stuff. They're just, it's fun to watch. But yeah, anyway. So go ahead. What's your next question? Where are you at?
Speaking of Dave, he's asking how fast Tanya has gone.
Oh, Tanya's been 251 miles an hour in Bonneville. That's a great story because we had gone the year before. We'd set 5 records and 4 different drivers. Something hadn't been done at Speed Week yet. And Tanya's turn, she got the course when it was the worst, and she had a 1,300 horsepower, 1471 blown big block, crazy motor that just was an on-off switch. And with an oversentinel throttle, it just like slap it, it would just fall forward to 1,300 horsepower. And she handled it. She went 225, set a record, But she wanted to be up there with the big boys, and she just didn't have the course for it. So David built her a motor for the next year so she could get in there's a special license, a AA license, you get it at 250 miles an hour, and she really wanted one. So she got one, went 251, pretty amazing. She's an amazing lady. She's in 4 200-mile-an-hour clubs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you got again, power couple.
We're just dicks, man. We live in nowhere, Alabama. Around here, nobody knows who I am or cares. Perfect.
So while I was doing some prep for the show and everything, I seen a lot of pictures with you in this 200-mile-an-hour shirt, which I see one there too that you're wearing tonight.
I wear it all the damn time because, legitimately, since the time I was a teenager, I always wanted to get in the Bonneville 2 Club. And I did in 2003. So 20 years ago, I got to wear this shirt. And honestly, I just kind of rotate them through because legitimately, it's who I am. It's what I dreamed of all my life.
Yeah. Now you've got one at least for every day of the week.
Yeah, I have at least that many. What's her name gets really pissed off and I start wearing the really trashed ones out of the shop. She's like, dude, yes, man.
Yes, man. Okay, fine.
Hey, I can say, look, if we aren't all bowing to Tanya, I mean, ultimately, it always comes down to she wins 100% of the time.
Yep, 100% of that. Whatever she says goes, for sure. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Well, I got to spend a little bit of time with her on Drag Week. She was in the adjoining room, and so every day I'd kind of go in and bother her a little bit. She's always super nice and was really very helpful during that time. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about Drag Week because obviously we're all drag and drive folks here, or most of us are. Yep. There's probably some land speed guys in here tonight, obviously. Yeah. But I want to talk about what you've seen, like the growth and all that kind of stuff. So, you talked earlier, 2005, there were 40 cars. 2006, there were 3 times. I mean, it was 119. Then we go to like 2012, there were 187. By 2015, there's 300 plus cars. It looks like the biggest year so far has been 2019 with 354 cars. But before you answer, I want to say thank you to the Gebhardt family for providing all of Billy's historical data to us. That was a huge blessing in that, because now I really nerd out on that just about every day. I'm digging around in there.
Oh,
So
it's great. So the drag. Let's talk about the beginning. We had 42 entries. 40 people started. 38 people got out to the street first. Whatever. The next year, David talked about having 125 cars, and I about crapped myself. I'm like, how are we ever going to deal with 125 cars? And the answer was more people. So we kept getting more people and more people and more people. And I have some incredible people that have helped us over the years. Mike Boyson and just all the guys. I don't want to start naming names, so I'll forget somebody, and I don't want to do that. No, seriously, because it's an amazing group of volunteers. And volunteers, guys, at workers, they legitimately work their ass off the whole week. But as every year it got bigger, we've always sold out drag week. I mean, it's always sold out in a matter of minutes, regardless of how many people actually enter the first day, and we get that number that you're talking about.
Mhm.
That really, it doesn't matter. I was not surprised that Tom sold out Sick Week as well. It's and that's the whole type of racing that it is good for that. So anyway, but the growth is good and bad. The 40 cars was amazing because we really developed a bond between all of us. Not just the workers, the guys that put on the event, because there was only 4 of us at that time. David, Tanya, and I, and I guess Jenny Schnitz helped us with that one, as well as Michelle. So 5 of us. And we did that for several years together. They set the routes up and all that, and we ran the event. But the traders, I really love the trader stories, because it started out as a 4x8 or a 5x8, and it went from there to, okay, we're going to do 142 cubic feet. And then last year.
So hang on, there's people out there trying to do math. Hang on, I don't have that many fingers and toes.
Don't do math. Gary. The first one, there was no rule. There was no rule on trailer, and the guy got a machine shop on the back of a dual tandem axle trailer. Literally, a guy brought a lathe, and I'm surprised he didn't have a Bridgeport on the back of the damn thing. But it was a full up. He had everything: welders and hot and cold running maids. It was astonishing. So there's some things that came out of that first one that the guy that got caught. I'm sure well aware of that whole story.
Trying to transport his car between tracks.
But he literally got caught red-handed. So there was no question about it. And he basically said, I quit. So whatever. It's all fine.
Hey, somebody had to do it at some point. And we're glad we got it out of the way early.
It was great that it happened the first time, because it established a pattern of that's 100% unacceptable. I mean, if you have to cheat to win, and that's the way you're going to win. Look, there's too few of us to ever actually catch you cheating. If that's what you want to do, then you're gonna get to cheat. You're gonna get away with it.
Yeah.
I've got to look at 400 cars on tech day. The chance of me knowing whether you're mounting hardware for your torsion bars are in the correct location is 0. If someone protests it, I will find out where they are, and I will damn sure know where they are if it's brought to my attention. Because I'll do that. I'll look at that and say, okay.
But we're gonna talk about protesting in a minute, because I can only imagine the fun stories you have from that.
You'd be surprised. It's not that big a deal. But in any case, so ultimately the trailer deal basically was just on the outshoot of the first year. We had a tandem axle trailer. It was like, okay, that's obviously too big. The guy was racing a pickup truck, and not a sport vehicle. It was a fast truck. It was I want to say a 9-second truck. It may have been a 10-second truck at the time, which was fast. But legitimately, we decided, okay, let's go to a single axle. We went to a single axle and limited the size of it. And so vast majority of trailers are built around that 142 cubic foot rule. We've just recently changed to the single axle rule. And I suspect we'll see an increase in trailer size slightly. But ultimately, when you're driving a race car, you can only pull so much trailer. Not that you don't have the horsepower to pull it. Ultimately, if it weighs too much, it's going to push your light house race car all over the world. So you'll sort out what you can and can't do with that. And that was kind of what the decision of the rules committee, as they were developing that was thought process on that.
Do you remember the Linco powered big block Ford, probably 65 model truck that was at Drag Week this year that had like the gigantic trailer? I'm telling you, it was the biggest trailer in drag and drive history. But it had like they had a full bed or a queen size bed in the back and like a refrigerator and a generator and all this kind of cool stuff in it. But it was single axle and it fit.
Yeah, when they get to the hot and cold running maids, I'm in.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was Linco truck. It was neat to see them go through all that. But yeah, they slept in it all week too, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, so his several class leaders, one of the guys mentioned several class leaders were bouncing 15 for being off the route. That was absolutely freaking heartbreaking to me. Absolutely heartbreaking. And it was just a matter of one of the guys that was leading his class was following his best friend. And his best friend was doing all the navigating. He was in a car by himself. And his friend said, "Hey, please throw me out. I'm 100% wrong, but don't throw him out. He was just following us." And I thought, and I'm going to just say his name. The guy that absolutely earned my absolute respect that day was Frank Romano. I mean, he just was such a stand-up guy trying to take the fall for that. Unfortunately, the rules were the rules, and I'm pretty strict about if the rule says X. And even though it says I have race director, by the way, is the name of the title.
Oh, there you go.
No, I have race director's discretion. The reality is exercising that discretion. If I want to help one guy, then how many other people am I hurting as a result of that? So, I lean towards the rules almost 100% of the time. I occasionally will modify them a little bit, but not very often. Just not worth my time. And it's not fair to the other people. I want to be fair.
Right. And then, but before we move on, let's talk about Drag Week was the only event for a long time. There was a drag weekend in there that I think you guys hosted as well, but only one of those in kind of West Coast, right? And then 2015.
It was a great event. It was just hot.
2015 Rocky Mountain Race Week comes on board. Now almost 10 years after Race Week, we have 25 events scheduled, 9 or now 10 national level events. What are you most excited about for the growth of the sport?
Honestly, I think all of that's a sincere form of flattery. I mean, when somebody copies you, that's pretty incredible. And I want you guys to know that the person that's truly instrumental in all of this is not me or Tanya or anybody else. It's David Freiberger. He's the guy who came up with this idea. He's the guy who put it together. He's the guy who has worked these rules to death. Anything other than a nod to David at this point would be ridiculous. He's the guy who created it.
Yeah, and for him not just to create it, but to also then just stay with it. It wasn't just an idea that was put to the side. Like he pushes it as much as anybody else does.
He mentors it today. I mean, he did the world's fastest streetcar shootout, and it kind of got out of his hands. And I don't know what the circumstances were that it got out of his hands, but the rules were allowed to morph and migrate so much that they ended up being the world's fastest streetcar shootout that it became the NMCA or whatever it was. The reality is that event got so far outside of what Hot Rod had envisioned as this event that when he started Drag Week, he was very, very careful about the rules and put a lot of thought into taking a guy from a street car, stock car in the Street Machine Eliminator class, what you should call daily driver, to take it from that class all the way up through Unlimited. He literally had a very set idea of how he wanted everything to play out. And I think, again, like I said, and not without nodding to him, it would be ridiculous. The guy has literally the whole series, and the vast majority of people, to include Sick Week and the rest of them, are using some version of David's rules.
Yeah,
I want to add to that we've also at Drag Week rules, we've looked at some of Tom's ideas, and they're freaking brilliant. So why would you not incorporate those into your rules as well? So, we're looking at all of it. It's what's good for the event. The 1 second reaction time is a brilliant idea Tom had for a lot of but primarily because you don't want a 250-mile-an-hour car running beside a guy running 12 O's and not have that guy take off, and then all of a sudden this guy pass you, and it just it turns out to be a better race.
Yeah. I'll tell a story about that real quick. If people have been on the Narcs Elliptic Customs channel for a while, I took the Narcs cart, which is the Grand Marquis that's all cut up in the Jungle Gym cage now, and it was in a 2-valve 4.6 15-second car, and I took it, and because of the body, I was in unlimited. Well, the first pass I make is against Royce Payton in his Nightmare Mustang, big blower, all this kind of stuff. It's just, I mean, it was an amazing. So I leave, and I'm at about 100 feet, and here he comes. It was the coolest day in my life. Probably, fourth coolest day of my life. But it was so awesome to have that car just. But you wouldn't want to do that safety wise as you continue through an event.
But again, credit John Bailey for that.
Yeah. Yeah. The 1 second rule is really a good idea. I like it a bunch.
It was a great idea. So good for him.
So I'm going to switch gears here for a second. And what is the most common thing people forget when they're pulling up their registration?
Oh, that's really simple. Read the rules.
Yeah.
It's a white sheet of paper. It's got a bunch of junk on it. I got a couple sets rooting around here.
Dude, they can probably find those on the internet too, right?
What the hell? I mean, literally, it ain't rocket science. Ladies, there's this rule set. If you actually, and I know Mike and I talked about this earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and bring it up, which is, people always ask us, is there a stupid question? The answer is absolutely. There are some brain dead questions. Can I have 2 axles on my trailer? Absolutely. You will get protested, especially if you're winning. Yeah, there are some dumbass questions. If it's in the rule book, don't come ask me the question. If you don't like what the rule book says, that's a valid talk. That's a valid conversation. It's not going to change it for that meet, but it might change it in the future. You've got a valid point. Sure, I'm listening. We're not stupid. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think probably the horn is the one thing we get the most. I know that I had that issue, and the correct wiring for your cutoff switch.
Oh, look, I don't care about any of that. I tell you what, you can find it drag week. 300 people can build over 1,000 horsepower. Cannot hook up a left turn signal. Beyond them. Brake lights, never going to happen. Turn signal, no. Trailer brake lights, oh my God. It's funny. I keep a list during check day because I don't have time to hold hands, jump rope, smoke up at a pope. I kind of got to go. And so I keep a list of all the people with infractions, and I go hold their hands and, kind of tap with them later on as the days wear on, and I don't see them. And, literally, it's a crazy deal.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys that were wiring trailer lights in tech line.
Yeah, and if you did that at Sick Week Tech Line, you better mind your P's and Q's, because this line's hauling ass.
Yeah, I wasn't there for Tech Day, but I heard it went faster this year.
It was amazing. It was just absolutely wonderful. And we realized, again, Tom's event's going to make Drag Week better as well. We just needed that many volunteers. We just needed a bunch of people. And hey, if you don't want to stand in line, come on up here and help us put stickers on. You can be somebody. And Tanya figured out some other things about registration and stuff that made it better. So yeah, whatever. Anyway.
While we're on registration real quick, and people signing up early, and obviously selling out and things like that, Rocky Mountain, with them doing the veteran, the people from the year before get to come get an early registration. How does Drag Week do? Is there any of? I guess there's really not. Everybody's kind of a free for all for when the link comes up.
If you're first, second, or third place in your class, then you get an early invite.
Nice. Okay.
I'll tell you something fascinating. This happened on the 3rd of the 4th drag week, 5th drag week, whatever it was. Man, it's literally like all hands on deck to get into the computers. I called David, and he's like, I said, we're going live here in a couple of minutes, right? And he says, yeah, you got to be quiet though. We'll just chat for a second, because I've only got a second, because I'm trying to help Jeff Lutz register. Freiberger could not early register somebody. Literally, I mean, it was that bad. He literally was trying to help Jeff Lutz get in. I mean, so I'm like anybody else would help another friend. I mean, he was just trying to help a friend. So, and I love that because that's how honest it is. You know, it's just, it is what it is.
And I'll say this also, it's best to register or get on the wait list. But if you are going to be, if you're going to go to the event as a racer, I'm going to Drag Week 2023. Now, it may not be that easy this year, but 2022 and prior, you can show up day of. So all these guys that bitch and complain because they can't get, I didn't get in. I'd go if I could get into one. Generally, in the past for sure, I don't know in the future, in the past, you could show up and get in. You may be in an 8-hour wait because they got to see if they can take you because of the car count that is registered that day. But these guys that say they can't, that say they would do a drag and drive, but they can't get in, like, have never shown up either.
I will tell you, that's my biggest fear. I can't tell you how many people are like, hey, you've always taken everybody on the wait list. And the answer is, yeah we have. And I tell everybody every year that the day is coming where we're going to have to turn people away. And Tom did something really smart with Sick Week and said, we're simply not going to have a wait list. He said,
not going to have an opportunity for people to day of register. Yeah.
And ours just didn't develop that way. So we wouldn't do that to Drag Week. But with Sick Week, that works really well. And again, it's one of the times that you kind of have to look at Tom and say, he's not chasing the money. It might seem like it, but he's not. The wait list gives you the opportunity to have more entries, which increases the income, which is important to be able to run the event. Drag Week is an incredibly complicated event with a lot of moving parts and a lot of support people everywhere along the way. So it's an expensive event.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody that's listening to this, I'll say this about 2023. There are going to be a lot of people that are surprised at how hard it is to put on a drag and drive event. At the end of the week, if it goes well, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is hard.
It's good when you've done it over years, where you've developed it over years, where I've developed a team over years, where I have this incredibly great team that Tanya has a great team. I have a great team. David and Brian are just ridiculous on the mic. So we have a really good program. So anyway, my whole point is I think the wait list thing is going to eventually, I think we're going to start losing people on that. And it's sad because guy drives 1,500 miles to get in on the wait list, and it just doesn't happen. I don't know what else to say, but I can say, get on the wait list early, get on the wait list often. Don't show up and get on the wait list. You need to be on that list.
Don't let that be your plan.
Yeah, and it's a shit plan. I mean, it's truly best case scenario. It's a shit plan, but hey, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. So, what else do we want to talk about? We had some things we want to talk about.
Yeah, so I want to talk about what you see as the next level of drag and drive. This is kind of a two-part question. Like, what is the next level of drag and drive? And then will we always be an outlaw, one-off, single event promoter type of event, or do you think there's a sanctioning body that's going to take notice of this?
Tanya and I owned a sanctioning body, and we thought about it very seriously with Drag Week, because legitimately there's definitely a place for it. When you look at all of the information you got from the Gebhardts, that tells you there's an interest in collectively gathering the information and disseminating it. There's a safety interest in all of this, where this one guy, Matt's asking for diapers. Well, that's a brilliant idea. I think it's a great idea. I fought it a little bit at Drag Week because I really want the guys with the Street Machine Eliminators to not have an issue and be able to race. So, but diapers are just a good call because, legitimately look at the amount of time that we lose for oil downs. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but, a guy that's doing the Street Machine Eliminator, he's got a 13-second car or a 17-second car that he's driving on the street. It's his daily driver. He's having fun. He doesn't really want to do that. So having a speed or an ET limit on that was good. Now, do I see it going somewhere? I don't know. I don't know. I suppose somebody will do that. I know we've talked about it, but legitimately, we don't want anything that we open the door on every day. We don't want another business of any kind. So
yeah, I can appreciate that. We've part of the deal with Summit Racing, part of our deal with Summit Racing and the PRI awards show for DragonDrive.com racer awards at PRI is going to be a national champion. I haven't put that out in the world yet, but we're working through a points structure now that, a guy like Dave Schroeder or Tom Bailey or somebody could come in and compete in 2 events and possibly win it, or a guy that is a consistent 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-second car could come in and win it also. So we're discussing some points. So I'll bounce that off of you once I get it closer. I'm close now, but I just need some other. I don't know. There needs to be that modifier that would just put it over the top if somebody come out and laid down a real event.
So here's something interesting for you, and I'll delve back into land speed racing for a minute. The real question is, who is the sanctioning body? With land speed racing, there are multiple sanctioning bodies. There's the FIA, there's the Southern California Timing Association, the Utah Salt Flats Racers Association. The bike meet has its own thing with the USAC, so on and so forth. So the only thing that has value is what people give credence to. So if we as a collective society give credence to Michael Marks's program that he's got put together, then that becomes the quote unquote standard. Right now, there isn't particularly a standard. Hot Rod Magazine and Freiburger have pretty much created the rules and standard. Who's collecting that information, disseminating that information, and dealing with that. He's been, I think, very liberal in allowing people to use the rules that he's developed, and I don't complain about that. It's just what it is. Yeah. The point of it is, though, that if somebody develops a sanctioning body, then we as a collective society, as a group of racers, give credence to that, and it's something that we then quote unquote aspire to. So we want to have a red tag on our wall that says X. It's got value. So the question is, how do you create that organization? What is that What is the quote unquote NHRA of Dragon Drive? So it isn't NHRA particularly, but it's a set of rules and it's a set of standards. And as long as all the Dragon Drives follow some form, some collective form, then whatever that is what it is. Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't think much of the FIA, and I don't think much of them because they charge $8,000 come time an event. And they don't do shit except look at your clocks and say, "Yep, now give me the $8,000 and $1,000 a day for DM or whatever it is." And ultimately, they're just a group of assholes from France. And I don't just like French people. I love Paris. If you get rid of the French, it'd be an awesome place. No, I'm just no, but the FIA basically is a European organization, and they don't really care about Bonneville, so they don't really go there very much.
Wow.
Utah Southern California Timing Association does care about Bonneville. They've done the Save the Salt thing. They've done all of the things for 75 years to make this place a special place. So, they're the ones whose records have value. Yeah. So it's just kind of a matter of you figure it out.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing behind this and why it's taken me a while to put this together is because it's got to be right. Well,
why don't we talk about that offline? Because I think honestly, there's a really good conversation over that, and I think in actuality, whoever creates the environment for those awards to happen is to be the person that has that body. So
we can talk about that at length. I'm sure your knowledge on that stuff is really cool. That's I think that's why I enjoy being friends with you.
We hadn't even done helicopters yet.
Oh man. See, that's why I need to come to your house and hang out for a couple days. That's what we need to do. We need to do a built for drag and drive at Keith Turk's house.
I have
There
a
you go.
spare room. You're welcome to be here. It's no big deal. It's a little hollow.
That's awesome.
Anyway,
Rich Guido here saying Drag Week needs a stick shift class, not just a shootout. What do you think about that? What do you think about stick shift stuff being so popular?
Rich Guido's cute. Did I mention I really like his dad? Did I mention that? I really like his dad. Is such a sweet man. He did the best he could. You throw it out there, you get what you get. He didn't pay a lot for Rich, so he got what he paid for.
That's awesome.
I don't disagree with Rich. Yes, he's an idiot.
Oh man, here we go. This is a good one. Carl B says, with waitlist potentially going away, what mechanism would work that would allow new racers to join a national event when registration slots fill up quickly or are given to returning racers first?
Man, just have faster fingers. Come on, Shrubert. Just get on it.
Here's what I think would be, as we move forward, I think we're gonna see some times where somebody's gonna have to put their resume together. They're gonna have to be like, hey, I drove my car to the track. I'd go out here. I do this. But at some point they're going to have 2 or 3 people waiting to hit that button.
That's kind of that's like I said, when Freiburger was doing it for Lutz. I mean, that was our reality. It takes 7 minutes. So within 7 minutes, you got to be able to put in the information. The key is you can correct the information later. Get your credit card number right. Everything else is stuff.
And listen, if your grandkid is a faster typer than you, get them over there.
Go back and ranch on your junk. Yeah,
that's right.
It's the wait list isn't going away for Hot Rod. I mean, it's a part of our history, so I don't suspect that'll go away. I could be wrong, but again,
I think he's meaning day of, somebody showing up.
Yeah, and that's happened with, like I said, that happens at Tom's event. I don't know if that'll happen at other events, but it happens at Tom's, and I applaud Tom for that. That's just him being good about it. But
So Mike, is this going to be you, the Drag and Drive Racer Association?
I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Brent says they've always
we always have 4 laptops going. That's hilarious. Brent Sinclair, I love them. Him and his wife are also a power couple. They are multi-time winners. And Brent Sinclair, he's got the red 4th gen Camaro. Comes out with Ryan Hargett. They raced at Drag Week this year. Laid 750s down, I think, all week in that car. Yeah, so great folks. I cannot remember his wife's name right now. It'll come to me in about 4 minutes.
I like Clint Skidowski. What an incredible guy. What an incredible story. So we're at Valdosta Sick Week last year, and Clint's parked right next to Impound. And I was like, man, you're awful close to Impound. He says, yeah, well, We're sitting there chatting, and I'm like, all right, so how fast is that? I mean, I'm looking at his car. I didn't know it was fast. I had a thing around this, whatever. I'm like, holy crap. Why aren't you an Impound? He says, I didn't know. He should be in quarantine. Why are you? So we literally moved the ropes, got us jumped over, and put him in quarantine. And it was like he was like number 2 in his class. And then I guess he's a major league ball player.
Yeah, he threw some heat for a while.
So the best part about this, I don't really follow sports, but I respect anybody that does anything incredibly well. And obviously did that incredibly well. But I really have come to like him a lot as a man. I just think he's a really great guy. Yeah. Anyway, so hey, Clint, your third nugget.
That his car is really cool. What I love about like that super street and street race class is those cars are generally a car that could be in a parking lot at a car show, and with the hood closed, you'd think, oh, that's a nice first gen Camaro like Clint's, or Brian Acton is the car I use all the time. It's a 70 Nova with cool wheels. With the hood closed, you popped it. I mean, it's like, those 7-second cars just right there.
Oh, Clint cracks me up. Yeah, I'd be like, I'd race that. Looks like his mama's car. I mean,
yeah. And then you're like, whoa.
It went 7 what?
Yeah.
7? 7? Not 17?
Well,
anyway.
you've mentioned his name a couple times, and I just want your opinion on what's it take for Lutz to come back? Does his record have to fall and him have some time to come to us? I know he's a big TV star
What
now,
record
but
does he have?
he holds the all-time drag and drive record, 619 average from 2016 drag week.
No, I mean, I don't think that would bring him back. I think legitimately, Lutz was looking for the place that he found, and he's doing really well where he's at. I like Jeff a lot. He's a great guy. So, yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like Larry Larson. I called Larry Larson, I don't know, 6 months ago, and I asked Larry. I said, like, dude, did you forget who the hell you're? Larry freaking Larson.
Right? Bring the Nova, bro.
You are Larry freaking Larson. Why are you letting these panty waves whip up on your little butt? Come on now.
Yep.
Because he's such a great guy. I mean, Larry Larson's just such an incredible guy. So, and I like Jeff a lot too. All the guys that are faster, they're the ones that are really easy to notice. It's the guys like Ryan, that in the back of a pickup truck. Those are the guys that are easy to pass by, that have the heart and soul of the Dan Nissans of the event. You get to meet those guys, and it's just like they're crazy guys. A lot of folks, you guys may or may not know, that have been around for a long time. But Larry does want it, Brent. I know he wants to come back. Larry would really like to come and just have some damn fun. He liked winning.
Yeah.
And bless his heart, he won 5 times. But so is Tom Bailey. So
yeah, it's fun having the history that we have now with Drag and Drive. We're going into almost our 19th running, I think, for Drag Week, so almost 20 years. Looking at stuff. So you start looking at all that historical stuff and all the names that have come through. And one stat for me all the time is who has only raced once and then never came back. And then who has didn't finish and then never came back. I mean, it's really the historical stuff for me. I get all nerdy. Yeah.
Murder Nova.
Yeah. Yeah. He came out and then was like, nope, this isn't for me.
Yeah. Just, but it wasn't that it wasn't for him. He just broke some motor first pass, and then Street Outlaws happened, and that became his fire. I mean, Sean would be a great guy to have back, but legit, and Dave Comstock's come, and so on and so forth. Tina Pierce, of course, is there all the time, and another great
second fastest woman in drag and drive history, right there.
There she is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so get those guys back. I'm more interested in meeting the Annalise that are 15 years old, dying to drive her damn Firebird.
that are coming up. Yep. The juniors. The junior street stuff. I really enjoy that. That's really fun. I think it's gonna be really cool in 10 years when someone that started at 13, like Blaine Stark, racing Tom Stark's wagon, is now 3 or 4 years from now in his own car racing, and then what that does as he grows up and in all this, it just the drag and drive community is so great to people.
It's interesting, and it's like I said, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a treat in our life to be able to be part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight, spending some time with us. I know I've bothered you a couple days here. For everybody that doesn't know, I should have called him yesterday. I didn't. Text him this morning early, and he called me today, and we got all this set up, and I really appreciate it.
I want to take 1 minute and go through something real fast. 2 things. First, the transmission tunnel. If the thing says you have to have stock floorboards, it's got to have stock floorboards. That includes the tunnel. Okay, you can cut up your tunnel, you can modify it, you can notch it, you can move it around, do it in 18-gauge steel. You're going to see some new rules about that, but it's got to be a factory tunnel. I mean, once you start fabricating, it's got to be welded in 100%. It cannot be removable. It can't have like 3 tacks in the front. Say, well, it's welded. The answer is that's not going to pass. That's not going to pass. So we were talking. You and I, Mike, talked about protests, and we want to talk about protests Hey, Keith, have you ever been protesting? I want to go through this real fast. So David and I were at Bonneville one year, and our nose of the Camaro has an air dam, which basically prevents air from going underneath the car. Real good answer. And we were running in a class that didn't allow it. It had to be the most forward portion of the bumper. Mine was actually on the leading edge of the top of the bumper, which was an 1/8 inch behind the bottom edge. So it was just marginally, fractionally off. So we set a record earlier in the week, and then Tanya was driving. She said got her 251, or she was going after her 251 record, and somebody came up and said, "Hey, someone's lodged a protest against your car." And about what? Well, it's about the bumper being, the air dam being in the wrong place on the bumper. And of course, the whole bottom of my bumper had been cut off so I could get the car in and out of the trailer. And so I didn't have another bumper to lower the air dam onto. It was gone. Like crap. So we went over to the guy and said, "Hey, we want to tell you, first off, it was his first year at Bonneville, and his friend had told him that he needed to protest, and because he had set the record at like a 207 and we'd gone like 217 or something." And so David and I went over there to talk to him, and Tanya and I and David, and walked up to the guy and said, "Hey, look, you don't want to protest. We'll withdraw our record so you don't have to protest. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And he said something about, "I just don't want you to race with a car that's illegal." And I said, "If you'd have brought a race car, you wouldn't have to be having this conversation." And David said something about, you may have got the record right now, but it will not go in the record book, meaning that we were going to beat his record before the year was out. When we left his pits and we're walking back to our pits, and literally we're all on our cell phones trying to find a junkyard anywhere that's got an 80 Camaro, because all we need to do is snatch the nose off of, build a new air dam. We'll figure all this out. We found one in Idaho. And we drove to Idaho that night, got this car out of a junkyard, put it on a rack, and stole the nose off of this car at like 2 a.m. Get back to Bonneville at 5 a.m. Get the car out of impound, because it was there, because Tanya was going to back up her record. She backs up her record. We're going through the tech line where they check your engine size, and I asked the tech leader. I said, "Hey, do you mind if we work on the front end of the car while you're waiting on the engine?" He's like, No, that's fine." So we literally are taking the nose off the car in the impound. Literally just put the new nose on the car, put it on. We had some aluminum valley metal for a roof we bought at the local hardware store, and we're Tannic screwing it onto the front of the car. We built this air dam. Every once in a while, you'll see a picture of the Camaro with a red nose. And basically, we went out and went 227 on the same path.
You're like, yeah. You should give the guy the thumbs up as you go past him. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we did actually, when we beat him and requalified, reset the record that week, which means, by the way, that he doesn't get a trophy for setting a record. Because only the person that has the record, only the person who has the record at the end of the week gets the trophy.
Oh man.
And he ended up, my guy has become a good friend of mine, and we've been friends for years. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those. Protests are really hard for me. It's a hard thing but ultimately, if somebody is doing something illegal that's ahead of you in your class, you're going to protest it. You don't do it until Wednesday or Thursday, because legitimately, if you're cheating as much as you can, you don't want them to know what you're doing. You're cheating. You're still in fourth place, and that guy's doing this, and you could see that. So, well, let's go look at that.
Yeah, they're going to have to make it a couple days before a protest is coming. And what's the protest process with?
Oh, basically, you just come to me and you bring your thing, and I hand you a sheet, and you fill it out and give me $100, and I go over and look at whatever your protest is, and if it's valid, then you get the $100 back. If it's not valid, the other guy gets the $100, and whatever. It's all. But genuinely speaking, one of the beauties of Drag Week is that we set it up a lot like we did with land speed racing, which is you'll talk to the guy, say, "Hey, do you realize you're probably not in the right class?" And that happened at Drag Week this last year, where a guy brought it the Nova with a one-piece front end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was I was coming out of talking to Tanya, and you were like, "Hey, follow me over here real quick." And so pretty, and the guy was, I think the guy was super understanding, right? Like,
he's totally, Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
He's like, this sticker on the front of my car is my bumper. It doesn't say what the material has to be made out of. I'm like, yeah, no.
That's not how
No,
that works.
no, that's, and I think you'll see some changes to that whole thing. I think modified's going to lose in sick week, at least. It's going to lose the no one piece front end.
Gotcha.
And I don't think drag week's rules would come out the same as sick week's came out, but that's what the committee said to do. So that's the way it was.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that there's a whole committee behind that. We've talked about that a little bit, in how you guys make decisions. And I can't imagine being on those conference calls where all that stuff goes down. So good luck to you, sir.
It's interesting, and legitimately, it's just a matter of, I usually walk it around. Like at sick week, I walked it around. I went and talked to all the people individually.
Yep.
And just said, okay, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? What's your opinion? What's your opinion? And went to Tom and said, what's your opinion? And we came out with this is the rule. I didn't agree with it, but it doesn't matter whether I agree with it. The committee,
the whole thing,
the group came up with that. So.
Yep. And then you guys set your rules that are in place for 3 years, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, and again, that's David. That's 100% Freiberger. He gets all the credit for that.
That's it, because just like you said on our phone call, people can, with as many cars that are being built for drag and drive now, that gives people an opportunity to fall within the rules and race that car for a few years, maybe before it changes. And who knows, it may not change at all.
Yeah, and it's designed to change. I mean, it's designed to be able to allow you to step your car up as you go on and have a class above you.
Yeah.
You know what you have to run. So, yeah.
Well, I certainly appreciate your time tonight. I know there's so you've got drag week, you've got, because I know the people that are watching, can you give us any insight when registration for drag week is going to be?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, are we looking like early spring, like after spring break, but maybe before it gets hot in Ohio? Awesome.
I wouldn't go to Ohio for drag week this year. I think that's already out.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Somebody was saying the Bristol to Darlington trip, or the whatever track is after Bristol, is going to be some mileage, which will be fun. So,
yeah, it's we always try to make it a little bit challenging. I mean, it's in theory we'd like to have it a little challenging. In practice, sometimes it's not. But I love that area of the country. I'm a big fan of that area. So
yeah,
it's gonna be fun. The whole registration thing, we've talked a little bit about that. I know when it's coming, but I really can't say.
Yeah, soon. Yeah, registration soon. All right. Well, we're over here, so we're gonna put you backstage, and me and Eric are gonna finish the show. You're more than welcome to hang out for a minute, and we can keep talking after that, or
you pick.
Do whatever you want. But I'm gonna put you back there, and we're gonna.
I'm gonna hang out, look stupid over here in the corner. Hey, look, thanks a million for having me on. I enjoyed it. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you.
It for sure has. And again, this isn't the last time you're going to be here. I say that to almost every guest, but it really is not the last time you're going to be here. We have a ton of questions, and you have a ton of history and knowledge, so it'll be fun.
All right, my friend.
Yeah,
dude, I like Keith a bunch. He really is one of the coolest people I've probably ever met within Drag and Drive, and really to be in, I'm not going to say control, but in charge and in the midst of all that stuff. And to, he takes my phone calls, which is always cool.
Right.
And lets me bounce questions off of him. It sounds like we'll have a conversation about, national championship, things like that, that'll come along with Drag and Drive Award show at PRI in 2023. I'm so excited for that event. It's what we wanted to do last year, and Summit Racing is making that an opportunity for this year. So I'm really pumped to be able to reward all of the racers. Last year we did decals for everybody that made a list that populated one of our top 25 or top 100 lists. Those lists are growing for this year. I haven't even talked about that tonight. The 11, 12, 13, and 14 second lists are live now, as well as what will become our national 235 list. Right now, it just is populated as 8th Mile on dragondrive.com. You can find, all kinds of stuff, stories and historical. I've got all, anyways, go to dragondrive.com, dig around in there a bunch. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what you'd like to see, and we can do that, dude.
And I actually use the site quite a bit myself because
Yeah.
when I'm posting videos on my channels, I know who people are, but I don't always remember what the year car is. So I like being
Yep.
able just to go look and go, yep, so and so was this year, whatever car.
Yep.
So,
And one thing we've added for 2023 is co-pilot names, which I think is going to be really cool as we move forward. We are, any award that we give will be to the driver and co-pilot. So while that has doubled the expense of all that stuff, I think it is very, very worth it because of the opportunity that it's going to provide to those co-pilots. And, the people that are solo, I don't know. I'm going to do something special for them too, because there's a lot of solo folks that run. I would think I always want a co-pilot with me just to give me somebody to talk to, because I like to
oh
talk.
yeah.
So. Well, dude, I'll be live again Saturday morning early with the Drag and Drive news, which I've already started getting some content together for the Built for Drag and Drive with Sweet Patina and all that. I want to say thanks to all of our sponsors, Summit Racing, of course, Molly Motorsports. Those guys are amazing. If you have needs for pistons or rings, Molly Motorsports is the way to go. Howard's Cams. I'm excited to talk to Luke B. They sponsor the entertainment segment of the news. So we got some good memes that are coming up this weekend. I'll tell you that much. It's been a blast. And I'm working with Luke on a new cam setup for the old truck. I'm going to go back to an NA setup in it. I'm going to take the turbo off and go back to NA with that truck and just kind of have some fun and get back to driving it. I worry too much to be cruising it with the turbo and all the stuff that goes along with all those modifications. So I'm going to back it back down a little bit and take it on some of these events. Sweet Patina, obviously, I love Blake and the team over there. They are amazing. They have so many products, but really the TKO hand cleaning wipe is what I use all the time. I don't take care of the patina on my truck like I should.
Mm-hmm.
And then Racing Junk, dude, we're going to be back on next week with Found on Racing Junk segment. I dig around there probably every other day, I would say. And if people are not signed up for their newsletter, you need to be. They are showing Drag and Drive some love and putting a banner on each of those and featuring stories that we've written and things like that within the newsletter. So can't thank the whole team at Racing Junk Classifieds enough for their support. So yeah, Torque at it. Yeah, dude, Jeff, good to see you. Hope to see you in a couple weeks in the Mustang at the circuit. So, all right, Eric, tell them where to find us next time.
We will be here live next Wednesday. You'll be live on Saturday, and I'll be in the background handling comments.
All right, guys, we'll see you then. Bye.